I've been trying to make a video about Brownlow Hill for the last 10 days or so, and every time I arrive here it starts to rain, and today's no different. It was fine when I set off, and halfway here it starts to rain. But not only that, the wind has picked up as well, which isn't good for video. Somebody asked me if I would make a video about Brownlow Hill, and at the time they asked, I had already started filming. I did some last summer, but there was a lot of roadworks going on at the top end, and I didn't think it would make for a good film, so I decided to leave it. So I've come back over the first few days of January, and every time I come, as I say, it's rained. I think I should also say a belated Happy New Year to everyone. I see our community here has grown by a few subscribers over Christmas. I put that down to drink probably. In the meantime, I had a comment on the video I did last, which was the one about Woolton Street, and it was a comment by a guy called Bill, which made me think a little bit about the area he mentioned. So while you're waiting for me to film Brownlow Hill, we'll have a little look at the subject which Bill was talking about in his comment. Okay, I hope you enjoy it. Many apologies for not getting a video out a little bit sooner. It's just circumstances. So as I say, I hope you enjoy this one, and we'll catch up soon. Blue sky, you never know, might get some filming done. We're going to take a look at the probable site of a manor house which once stood in Woolton Village. It was called Woolton Heyes, and it stood behind the Coach and Horses on what is now King's Drive. Now while we're there, we're also going to take a little look at what was the Tram Terminus at the bottom of High Street. Now I don't know a great deal about Woolton Heyes. There isn't a great deal of information on the internet. I couldn't actually find anything. It seems to have been lost to history. So I'll tell you what I do know. During the 1920s and up to 1936, the property was owned by a John Ashton Case, and he was a justice of the peace. Now he lived at the manor house, Woolton Heyes, and he also owned the property which would become the Elephant Hotel. Now in 1936 he sold, I think, both properties to a Richard Allison. Now I say probably both properties because I know Richard Allison moved into the Woolton Heyes Manor House, but I think he's also responsible for turning a private property into what would become the Elephant Hotel. So I think he probably owned both. It's unlikely that he would have the say-so to turn a property into a hotel without actually owning it. So that's all I know about this particular subject, but I found the looking at what used to be there compared to what is there now very interesting. We've had so much rain during January that it's making a video pretty much impossible. So much rain that Loads Pond has returned to being a pond once again. But there are occasional breaks in the bad weather, and this is one of them. This is High Street in Woolton Village, and have you ever wondered what came first, the house or the dual carriageway? Now this video is going to be about a manor house which no longer exists, and it's also going to touch on a tram terminus which no longer exists either. Now this video came about because a comment was made on the last video, which was about Woolton Street, and the comment was made by a guy called Bill Gibbons, and he made a comment about a photograph which I used on the last video showing Woolton Cross, and on the right hand side of the photograph there was a wall, and I said the wall was in front of the old Coach and Horses pub, and Bill said no, that's not true. And I knew he was correct, because there wasn't a wall in front of the old Coach and Horses, and I even showed a photograph of it with no wall, so it must have been just a senior moment which made me make that comment. So this is the photograph in question, and it's Woolton Cross looking towards Woolton Village, and you can see the wall on the right hand side there. Now this is pretty much the same view today, and as you can see the road has been widened, and the new Coach and Horses, which is now a creche, now sits on the corner of King's Drive. And this is a photograph of the old Coach and Horses, and you can see where the cross sits in relation to the pub and the two buildings either side. Now this is pretty much the same view. This was the new Coach and Horses, and it's now Little Angel's Day Nursery. Now Bill said to me that the wall wasn't in front of the pub at all, which is obviously true, but it was in front of a gatehouse, and there was a pathway which led to a manor house called Woolton Heyes. Now this photograph was taken when the bottom end of Woolton High Street was a tram terminus, and you can see the building directly in front of us. The white building there is the gatehouse that once stood on a driveway down to Woolton Heyes Manor. And I was quite surprised when I saw this photograph, because the bottom end of High Street doesn't look like this anymore. This photograph was taken before King's Drive was built, and I think King's Drive was built in the mid-1930s, around about 1934. There's not a great deal on record of when King's Drive was actually built, but I think it was mid-1930s. So at that time, when King's Drive was built, this gatehouse and Woolton Heyes Manor House were demolished as well. Give or take a year or two, but King's Drive was built upon the land which this manor house resided. And here's a slightly closer view of the gatehouse, and you can see the wall in front of it there. Let's have a look at what that area looks like today, and if I can cross High Street without getting run over. As far as I remember back, we moved here in 1960. I'm pretty sure this was a car park then, and just a little bit further on there is a sandstone seating area, which has been here as long as I have, and I would have thought it would have gone back in history, but that may be not true. Now, I think the photograph which we were looking at before of the old tram terminus was taken a little bit further down towards the junction. Some kids here going on their lunch break, probably from St Julie's, but you can see the new Coach and Horses there, which is now a children's day nursery. Now, I think the photograph we were looking at of the tram terminus and the gatehouse was taken from roughly here. And this is a view down King's Drive, which, as I said, was probably built around about 1934, and this is Little Angel's Day Nursery, which was once the Coach and Horses pub. But what was to the right of the pub? Well, there's this white building here, which is obviously somebody's home. I don't know when that dates from. But next door to that is the Marie Curie Centre, which is a hospice, I think, for people who have cancer. Now, as you can probably tell, this is a reasonably modern building. I think Marie Curie has been in Woolton for 60-something years now. Let's have a look down King's Drive, and this is Little Angels. We're just going to follow the curve of the building around, and this now is King's Drive. Now, King's Drive was built apparently as part of a outer ring road scheme that local government had back in the 1930s, and the idea never really came to fruition. So there was King's Drive, and there was another part of the road in Belvale, I think, or Lee Park, and that was it. That's as far as they got, another abandoned project. But it did link Woolton Village to the new housing estate that was built in the 1930s near Out Lane on Hunts Cross Avenue, which is in a video I covered recently, that particular area. But as we walk down King's Drive here, and we take a look to our right, this is another entrance into the Marie Curie care home. And as you can see, these two modern pillars are set into an old sandstone wall. So I was just wondering if this sandstone wall was part of the old Woolton Heyes Manor House, or its grounds. And if we walk further down King's Drive here, and we look to our right, there's even more of the old sandstone wall, which ends just where these modern houses are. King's Drive has a mix of houses that were built in the 1930s when the road was built, and some that were built in 1950s. But there's the other part of the sandstone wall there, looking towards the side of the Marie Curie Centre. Right, so just something to think about. Anyway, we're going to walk back up to the junction where King's Drive meets High Street in front of it, and to the left Speke Road, and to the right Woolton Street, and technically to the left Woolton Street as well, part of it. This is the car park for the day nursery. This used to be the car park for the Coach and Horses pub. There was never many cars in the car park because I think most of the people who drank here weren't old enough to drive. I wasn't anyway. I started coming here when I was 16. Anyway, if we walk up to the junction here, I'm going to take a a look up High Street, which is the street that we've just walked down at the beginning of this video. And just going to stop at the traffic lights here and get a view which is in a photograph. Well, it's actually a painting, it's a watercolour painting, and it shows what this view was like in the 1930s. So in front of us there is High Street. This is a watercolour painting showing the same view in the 1930s, and you can see on the left hand side there, there's a tram. Now in the photograph we looked at the Manor House gatehouse photograph, there didn't seem to be any tram tracks on that side of High Street at that point, but there's a tram in the painting. Anyway, it looks very different there than it does today, and some of the features that I've shown in the video don't seem to be there. I also found this photograph on the internet, and its title was "The Tram Terminus, Woolton." So is this the same place? I guess it could be. Now before I end this video, I would just like to show this photograph, and it shows the junction of Woolton Street and Speke Road, and there's a huge house or a huge building on the left hand side there, which is roughly where the Marie Curie Centre is now. Does anybody know what this building was? I believe this photograph was taken in the 1950s, but dates on the internet don't mean a great deal, even when it's from the photographer who took it. It could be earlier. I don't remember it, but the Marie Curie building is reasonably new. I know they've been in Woolton for just over 60 years. It could have been in my lifetime and I've just wandered past it and it's been erased from memory. But does anybody know what this building is? If so, let me know in the comments, and we may make a video about it once we know what we're talking about. Okay, thank you once again for watching, and we'll catch up soon.